Good day to everyone. Today we will do a brief review of our new development. This is the OXI touch control panel. A bit of technical data. This is a touch panel with a resolution of 800 by 480 and it has a 5-inch diagonal and it has a capacitive touchscreen. So it's very user friendly and we invite you to try it. And today we'll do a brief overview. So the main screen that greets us looks like this, and what can be displayed here? This is and the flue gas temperature. And on the left you see and the current boiler temperature, its current operating mode, and the outside temperature and the hot water supply temperature. Here you also see the regulation limits for the boiler and for hot water supply, target temperature and regulation limits. On this screen, as well as on all other interfaces, this is a tab with the main control elements. That is, you can see the home icon, back icon, start the boiler, stop the boiler, Wi-Fi signal level, current time, and access to service settings. So that's all regarding this screen. Let's scroll. So moving to the left, you see user settings. Here you can change and power level. And according to the service settings. And enable power control by the flue gas sensor. That is depending on the set limit that you consider appropriate. You set, for example, 150 degrees of flue gas temperature, and if this value is exceeded, then the burner or controller will reduce its power by 1 level. Accordingly, there are 7 levels. And it will decrease once every 10 minutes, checking and comparing the current temperature with the temperature you set in the service settings, and either decrease or increase the power. This is a unique feature. It allows significant savings and increases the efficiency of the system. Accordingly, your boiler will always operate in the most efficient mode. In addition, here you can change the hysteresis of the hot water supply, enable disinfection of the same hot water supply, and choose the type of fuel you want to use. And there are presets for two pallets, for 2 different types of pallets. And also you can enable, that is, the controller allows you to manage the heating system on the regular, on the second, or on any. So moving on. Here you set the priority of operation, meaning the boiler with hot water supply or without, or separately the priority of hot water supply. So you can configure it here. Additionally, from here you can access the event log, which displays all modes, changes in the burner operation modes. And with this button you can completely clear this log. We go back and here is the second button available. This is the output test. So you can separately give a command to the controller to turn on each individual output for testing. Useful for setup. Useful before starting the burner to check all units for functionality and correct connection. So here's the igniter and the boiler pump and the DHW pump, or the second circulation circuit. That is, you can assign the second pump. If you're not using DHW, you can assign it as a circulation pump, for example, for underfloor heating. Test of the first fan, second fan, and test of the external auger. And I want to note that it can be set with a timer, useful for measuring its performance. So you don't time it separately, you just set the timer for 1 minute and it will time it for you, and then you just need to weigh what it dispensed. So moving on. Yeah, there is also a check of the feeder, a check of the cleaning system, and a check of the mixing valve, which we recently added, meaning rotation in one direction or the other. Upon exiting the page, it automatically turns off all, and you don't have to worry about it. Everything will remain powered at some output. Pressing left again, you get to the weekly schedule page. Quite convenient interface, and you select the day of the week, and you can schedule up to 4 changes. Up to 4 changes in the boiler temperature, and also the hot water supply. You can change the set, and the target temperature of the boiler and hot water supply. A, and don't forget to press Enable if you are setting up this page. If you leave this switch on, the main screen will display a message A, and that the boiler temperature is controlled AE and by the weekly schedule. And likewise, if you enable boiler power control by the flue gas sensor and it is currently off, you need to do it in the service menu. Let's do it right away. I'll show you why it might not turn on. That is here where 3, it is turned off, so you need to turn it on for it to measure the flue gas temperature. You return to this page and enable control by the flue gas sensor. And on the main page, you will be informed that the boiler temperature is controlled weekly schedule, and the boiler power changes according to the flue gas sensor. And on the left side, we finished, and now let's press the button on the right. Here we are greeted by an information page. There are actually 2 of them. There are 9 parameters displayed here, and on the next page there are also an additional 9 parameters. So you can see the software version that is currently installed on the controller. Let me show you how to set it up, and the time is set by pressing the clock. Accordingly, you can rotate and set the time, and if you change, for example, the date, the day of the week will automatically be set and calculated. Wi-Fi settings. You go here by clicking on the Wi-Fi icon. You can create a new connection. You can generate a QR code to connect to your account in the app. To connect your device to your account, you can clear the token. This is a function that is very rarely needed, but it's better not to press it because your device will disappear from the server, and accordingly, to restore it, you will need to contact us to assign it this token so it can communicate with the server. Moreover, you can update all the modules here, the communication module, the main processor, choose what exactly you want to update, in which mode, and click Update. Next. The basic function, start the boiler, is performed as follows. It will ask, start or not, we will not for now, and stop the boiler. I will note that there is a function like curtain. Here you can switch languages. Currently there are 11 languages in the firmware. We will leave English so that it is convenient for some to film. You can set a so-called screensaver. This is the screen with the screensaver. And let me demonstrate it to you as well. What interesting functions. So the screen turned on, the screensaver. Here you see the current time, the current temperature of the boiler, and the current operating mode of the boiler. It's quite convenient, meaning that even when it's off, it will inform you about the current state of the system. We turn it off so it doesn't interfere with our review. You can change the brightness of the panel, and you can also change the volume of the panel. And this slider does not affect the volume during alarms. Alarms will be output at full volume in any case. So you don't miss the moment when something happens, for example, when the fuel in the boiler runs out. Let's move on to the service settings. Entry into the service is done using the code 4 zeros, and we get to the page with groups of settings. So there are settings for the operating mode. Here the minimum and maximum boiler temperature is set, which we saw limits for on the main page. It is set. And the temperature at which the alarm for feeder overheating or boiler overheating operates, and hysteresis. According to the instructions, you can find out which one is responsible for what. Well, and the rest of the parameters, they are all described in the controller's manual. That is, they fully correspond to what you saw just in the controller. They are also displayed here on the panel. You could swipe left to return to the menu, go to the equipment settings group. Here you can, well now we have a boiler operation simulation, so you cannot switch the heat carrier. And those parameters that are currently unavailable for change are displayed in red. Right now it won't work, but the controller can manage the air boiler using the same high temperature sensor. You just need to stop this boiler and switch the heat carrier. In this tab, all the sensors connected to the controller drop down. You can change their type according to what you currently have available. Convenient for service technicians. It is not always exactly our sensor that needs to be installed, well, the one that is installed from the factory. But you can use third-party sensors and they will work. Just remember to reassign them. Next, the output to settings. It is an output that can be programmed, meaning as I already mentioned, it can be a domestic hot water pump, a pump for the second heating circuit, or an output for a powerful smoke extractor. It simply provides a line. For example, you can connect it to a frequency converter, which will give a command to turn on depending on the vacuum sensor, for instance. And this is used for powerful objects. Or you can simply turn it off to preserve the relay resource, which is actually almost infinite. But still, if you are not using it, you can turn it off. Additionally, you can configure what the room thermostat will control and what the STB output will control. And we have such an emergency output. By default, it is a boiler thermostat that provides additional monitoring for overheating. That is, if, for example, the boiler temperature sensor falls out of place, this thermostat will stop the boiler's operation and hey, so that's all for the equipment. Fuel settings. You can also refer to the instructions to understand which parameter corresponds to which function and adjust accordingly. So fuel settings, then air settings, both are adjusted here. You can enable the modulated ignition settings. It was disabled by default. Modulated ignition is a function for the first fan, meaning it will blow on the igniter and change the power. Settings for ignition. Settings for purging. It is possible to organize, for example, for other burners that do not. Settings of the cleaning system, you can invert it from here to avoid changing the drive direction. The next function is weather dependent control. Here you set the schedule for how the temperature should change depending on the outside temperature. You can visually check the graph and adjust it at 3 points. And here's the parameter for the flue gas limit that is acceptable for you. Accordingly, if you control the power by the flue gas sensor, this limit is set in this menu. Yes, the next item is Other. Here we have correction settings. Accordingly, if the sensor has an error of 1 or 2 degrees, you can change to these settings. And the most interesting thing, which I haven't told you about, this panel allows you to configure the burner in a few clicks. Now I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about. When entering the service menu with the password 1234, you enter the so-called wizard, an assistant that can help you set up the burner. Here's the welcome page, and then you just need to select the burner. For example, let it be 37 kilowatts. It will pause for a while, set all the basic configuration parameters, and ask you to weigh the auger. What is needed for this? You need to set the timer, press start, and wait for the selected period of time. Wait while the auger operates. During this time, you need to collect the pellet it can produce in some container or bag. Well, those who constantly adjust know what I'm talking about. For end users, I'm explaining how to do it. So, it will automatically move to this page. Here, you will be asked to enter the amount of fuel it produced during this period of time. It doesn't matter how much you choose. By default, well, it's preferable to do it for at least 3 minutes. For the video, I did 1 minute so as not to keep you for long. And so it will ask how much the auger was able to produce pellets, in grams, I note. This is important. In grams, you enter, for example, we got 200 grams per minute, so now we can proceed. Click confirm. And that's it. The burner is set up. The burner is set up. Now let's go check what it has configured for us. In the fuel section, you will see the auger's output of 12 kilograms. It calculated it itself. It set the burner's maximum power, minimum power, and all the other parameters we can go through. They are all configured for a specific burner, meaning all the cleaning parameters. Everything will be set up here. This is enough for the first launch. If you have any additional non-basic equipment, you will need to configure it yourself, but all the basic criteria will be set up. Start. What I would like to note is that for pellet equipment manufacturers, we can offer our own codes. For example, 4.5s to pre-configure their equipment for use with our burners. Pre-configuration accordingly, a person will be able, by purchasing your boiler, to receive the same service with a wizard and simply enter using your code. Simply choose which boiler they purchased and already have the ability to start it immediately on their own. This does not eliminate the need to invite service technicians who know what they are doing, but the basic settings will already be entered. This will help the installers do their job faster. That's probably all for today. Thank you for watching. Wishing everyone peace soon and a good mood. Goodbye.